let's talk about some of the games we've been playing. So, more recent releases, I would imagine. And I want to sort of start with you, Lucy, because you were going to talk about Botany Manor a few weeks
Mm.
ago. I've
Mm-hmm.
been playing it as well.
Ooh.
Oh, where are you playing it? Steam or
Here, yes, on Steam.
I was gonna say
yeah.
probably in his house. I'm guessing.
Yeah. No, nice. How far into it are you? I mean, there's not
Um,
going to be any spoilers or anything,
no,
but
no, I'm getting towards the end. I
out of
think I'm
curiosity.
in the 5th chapter now,
Yeah.
which is the Formal Gardens. I think I've got
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
Formal Gardens. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever that point is, I haven't done anything in there yet. I've walked in basically.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It's just it's the sort of game that I very much need and want, and don't want to look elsewhere because it's the epitome of cozy.
Absolutely, yeah.
um. Yeah, it's set in. Is it the early 1900s? Sorry, I played like 3 weeks ago, so I have to
No,
like
18,
1800s.
1800s, yeah, yeah.
1800s, yeah. You're somewhat of a fancy lady
Mm.
of the manor, and you're a botanist. In fact, as you'll come to realize playing the game, she's got all sets of skills. Like she's not just a botanist; she's a scientist of many different disciplines. Because
Wow.
basically, the premise is you're you know looking to write a book on botany, and you're researching all these different species of plants and flowers. And yeah, it's a first person. I guess it's a puzzle game. It's a
It's a
first
puzzle
person
game, yeah,
puzzle
yeah.
game.
Hmm.
Yeah. It
I like
sort of
the art
looks
style.
like The Witness, or
Absolutely. Even
yeah,
so
just the colors. Yeah.
interestingly, The Witness was not just the first thing that came to mind from the aesthetic and the colors, but also the idea that, with the Witness at least, you do that first like puzzle in the first room, and then you walk
Hmm.
through the corridor, and then the kind of the world opens up to you, and you're
Yeah.
allowed to kind of go and explore. And Botany Manor doesn't do that, but you do the first puzzle, you work out the first plant in that
Hmm.
kind of greenhouse room, and then you walk through not necessarily a corridor, but you come out of that space, walk around through the kind of landscaped area, and then you present the house sort of in front
Yes.
of you, which obviously
Yes.
contains the rest of the spaces. And it funny that I instantly thought these people have played and absolutely loved The Witness, and they have made a
Hmm.
game based on
Yeah.
potentially their own interests, but on this other stuff, which has clearly been very influenced
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
that game.
And this is a much easier game than The Witness, with a lot less
Absolutely.
friction.
Mm.
It doesn't rely on you know your understanding of line puzzles, and recalling back previous learnings. Like every flower and every chapter is pretty much distinct, and
Yes.
all the clues are within the world, for you to rely on. So things like newspaper clippings, things like other research books, letters from people who have said, "Oh, I came across upon this plant in this region," etc., etc.
Mm.
So there's all these in-world clues to help you suss out what these different plants are, and how to get them to blossom and flower, basically.
Yeah.
Um, am I dumb? But I didn't find a way to like. There was no like what I really could have dealt with. Used was like a journal that kept like all the things that I had found in the world, like sort of just like a notebook. So it relied on me like sometimes taking pictures on my Steam Deck with like my phone or a screenshot
Oh.
or something like that,
Okay.
and going
Okay.
back to it, or writing things down. It's a
So
very I think writing things down would be okay, but it's like sometimes you need like the actual visualization of what you've seen, like a poster of butterflies or something like that.
yeah, so there is the notebook where you're charting all of
Hmm.
these things, and you see the picture of the flowers as they kind of come to life, and you can the clues that you find in the world, you can
Yeah,
assign them against the flowers, so you
yeah,
know kind of where to look. But you're right in that there's no
Review.
yeah, there's no kind of
like log, like
illustration
yeah,
or log of those things apart from just letter or
yeah, and
book.
Yeah,
and
and
it
it
tells you where
tells
it
something where
is.
it is, which is a good thing.
So
But
it
it's
tells you.
like,
So
oh, I have to
no,
track back all the way
absolutely.
over
So
there just to see that. Yeah.
yes, that's the thing that I found, that there are a few times where you have two or three. Is it maybe chapter 4? We've got actually 4 plants that you
Mm,
need to look at. So you're collecting all of these clues, and there's lots of different things to kind of like filter out. Part of the puzzle is being able to assign those clues,
yeah.
and working out what clues fit what plants, then work out what the puzzle is to get the plant to bloom.
Hmm.
And that was the one thing that I instantly thought as well. I go into that, I'm like, oh, there was a poem on a wall or something,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
and I'm like, what did it say? I can't remember. Oh, okay. I've just now got to track back and find it to look at it. It's kind of on the wall.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think if I was paying slightly more attention as I was playing it, it doesn't it actually presents everything on the path to the next kind of puzzle
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
and it lines things up quite well. So a poster on the wall might say something, and actually the item that you need or the thing that you are meant to do is in the next room, and the
Hmm.
clue is on
Hmm.
that poster. But
Mm.
because you're tracking
Multiple different
several
plants. Yeah.
multiple different puzzles, it's difficult to ascertain exactly what you should be doing in each room.
Yeah.
So it does get a little bit kind of messy. It's not like webbed on, you
No.
don't need to
No.
set
No.
up sort of your strings on the wall,
No.
but it can get a little bit yeah, just a little bit
Yeah.
messy between the two.
When you don't know which one's assigned to which,
Mm,
it becomes a bit hard to compartmentalize each and every clue. Like, oh, I can't remember if this flower blooms in, like, I don't know, cold areas, and if it's the same flower that relates to, I don't know, you need this kind of pot or soil, etc.
yeah.
So yeah, that is literally the only area of friction that I experienced in the game. Everything else is
Mm,
very breezy in a good way, but still makes you think. The puzzles are just challenging enough, and there's a good variety of them. There's like,
yep.
each flower has different, you know, set of conditions that it needs to flower. Sometimes there's like multiple conditions. Sometimes, as I say, it's something to do with the pH of the soil. One's like wind direction. One's, lighting or humidity and stuff like that. So
Mm,
so so I've found, like, that how many is in total or something like in the game? Maybe like 15 or something like that, or
yeah,
maybe less.
sounds about right.
Um, and they found like numerous distinct different ways to make puzzles out of that, and I thought that was
Yeah.
really, really well done. But and what I love about it is just like the underlying, like, story in it, which is, there's no like dialogue or anything like that, but it's what you can garner from, like, there are some things like um, collectibles in the world that don't relate to the puzzles, and it's just like providing the flavor text of the game, which is, this is set in the 1800s. Marginalized voices, like, women,
Women.
people of other color.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but it's like even someone who's like of a higher status,
Mm,
who's like, she's got a manner, for crying out loud,
yeah.
Mm.
has a voice silenced, and it's like, a lot of people who, try to um, you know, elevate her and her work, she just doesn't see any of the fruits of that labor, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Still has those barriers in front of her.
yeah, and it's like, I'm sure the gamers were like, keep your politics out of my game and stuff like that. But it's like it doesn't do it in a way that's overly melancholic or
Hmm.
depressing or anything. It's actually quite uplifting, and how and really smartly done. It's like, yeah, this could have just been all breezy puzzles, but this gives some
Sure.
context around it, and it's actually, like, yeah, as I say, quite uplifting at the end. I won't spoil it for you, Ben,
Okay.
but it's quite a nice ending. But
Nice.
yeah,
I think
I
that
really enjoyed that part of it, and I like each newspaper clippings. Like, was it like the bathtub or something like that? And the it needed fixing by the plumber, and the plumber's
Oh
like,
yes.
"Oh, a lady of your stature should not even try to pick up a a tube.
It is actually
And then
it is
and then
actually
you
a
just
really
go,
easy puzzle as
yeah.
well. It's not even complicated at all.
Yeah,
This
it's
this
just like,
man's like, well,
well,
it's very difficult. I wouldn't attempt it yourself. It's like,
yeah.
That's really funny.
And
and
then
we'll
she just
charge
does
you
it. She's
like
like, here's the
5
code.
shillings to
Yeah.
fix it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
And she's like, screw that. I'll just do it myself. Yeah. It's just like, yeah, a bit of girl power in there. So yeah, I really appreciated that part of it. So
so
yeah,
I
it's
think
good.
it's got great reviews. A lot of things saying it's cozy and wholesome and relaxing and fun and mildly like just the right level of challenging. What's interesting is here's our I'm bringing back review roundup, and here's JPM on 12th April. This is a not recommend. 3.1 hours on record. I really enjoyed this game. The puzzles were fantastic. The setting was amazing. The guarding towards the end got super creative. I love just about everything about it. However, I leave a negative review because of the price. I beat this game in 3 hours, and even on sale, the game is $22. Everything is great with the price, but the steep price for such a short game forces me to leave this review.
Because I thought it was going to
get
be like, this game's for SJWs. I thought it was going to be
no.
something
I
like
mean,
that.
the
So.
thing is that of the
This
negative
is just as
reviews,
stupid, but you know.
of the negative reviews, is just it's quite short for $22. I mean, I hate
But it's
that this
so
is like
good,
the
though.
repercussions of a decade and a half of triple A being like, it's 97 hours, so it's worth your 75 quid. Right?
But I can say I genuinely enjoyed every minute I was playing this game, whereas something, that could be like 25 hours, I may not.
Yeah.
In fact, won't.
Won't, yeah.
Definitely won't enjoy every
It sounds like it doesn't
second.
overstay its welcome at all. I mean, I get 3 hours,
No.
$22. It's like a
mean,
movie ticket and popcorn, and you're getting 1.5 times its thing.
Yeah,
It's also like I just think it's an interesting thing to talk about. Where I'm kind of okay with that. Like, I'd rather smaller games cost a bit more that are just like great, like across the board, great, checking all the boxes. People don't have bad things to say about it, and charging a bit more, and it going into that developer's pocket, so they can make a slightly bigger game if they want, or another smaller game, and not just a little bit more for the dividends, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely, and I think it's an interesting place, that kind of price point, because I think if they'd have come in at maybe like £18 or something like that, or £18.99, somewhere around that kind of region, sub £20, you'd probably have a little bit less pushback. But you'd see, there's that like tipping point, I think, and it's different for kind of everybody, isn't it? On stuff. I mean, I'm not even 2 hours in. I'm just on Steam. I'm 104 hours. 100 in.
Yeah.
And I've got only the last chapter. Yeah, I've got the last chapter to do, and that might be a big chunk of time. But as Lucy was saying, the variety of puzzles is really nice, and it'd be good to get into that kind of final chapter as well. Even with that review, sort of saying that this is the sort of fruition of kind of what you've been kind of building up towards. Even if I did this in 2 hours, I'm happy. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with the experience. Nothing has outstayed its welcome in terms of the puzzles, in terms of the aesthetic, in terms of moving around a very well constructed, very small, self-contained space as well. So there's a few architectural questions that I have to the developers about the layout of the actual building itself and how silly it is. But lots of buildings and lots of buildings of this age were very silly in terms of their actual layouts. There's no like servant quarters and all that sort of stuff in this kind of thing. But anyway,
I mean, there's a way to leave that review. You could have had it as a positive review and just say,
absolutely.
PSS,
warning. Yeah,
it's a bit short for people who want the longer thingy. So, but I don't think that that person did it to warn others, because most developers on the Steam page and Steam description say, not beware, but look, this is a short game. They full on say, like, this game is going to take average 4 hours or something like that. So yeah, maybe that person felt very aggrieved at that fact, but it's like,
I mean, so what I'd like,
if you enjoyed the game so much, and maybe this person doesn't know like how much, like, even with so many overwhelmingly positive reviews, how like a couple negative reviews can literally tip the tables in terms of the algorithm on Steam and negatively impact the developer. It's like,
And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because a couple other reviews just said like pros, it's great. Cons, it's a bit short. And
Yeah,
then a
do it
dyslexia
that way.
font is missing. Those are like the only things. What I will say is, it doesn't seem to say anything about the length in the Steam page, but I installed a mod on my Steam Deck,
Okay.
which puts how long to beat on every page, and I
Oh.
forgot. I've mostly been on Steam via that over the past few weeks. I legit forgot that it wasn't part of the thing, so I was like, oh, I wonder, like, oh, it's that short. Let me just double check, and I scrolled up on my PC Steam. I'm like, huh, that bit's missing. Oh, it's a mod, you dumbass. But yeah, that's like, it's
That's
really
useful.
great little
Mm.
add-on, because then
Nice.
while you're just like, oh, there's this like 8-pound game. Oh, look, it's
Mhm.
under 10 hours. Great. I can impulse buy that and know I'll actually play it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Versus,
like seeing games that are that short is genuinely an incentive to me.
yeah,
I played it on Xbox
Hmm.
via Game
Cloud
Pass
Stream.
Cloud thing
Yeah.
on my Steam Deck, which
Right.
is the ultimate way to
Nice.
play games. So
You
I'm
don't even need a
wondering,
hard
because I
drive.
took my sweet ass time with it. Yeah, so
Oh, and
might
it's the right
get
type
that
of game,
picked up.
because you don't even have to worry about potential cloud latency, presumably.
No.
Right?
And oh, I have to mention this. Went into the settings straight off the bat, as I do with like most games, and especially first-person games. It has a separate menu part for
Nice.
motion sickness.
Mm.
And I was like, "Thank you."
You
So very much welcome,
you
because
uncheck
I know
the
all the
give me
things that I
motion
need
sickness
to.
box.
Yes, it's me.
Mm.
Because I know all the things that I need to change
Mhm.
usually on a game, but this was like, here are all these settings.
And
They're
they're
in
in
the
one
other
place.
parts of the menu, but here are these settings
Mm.
in this part of the menu. So I really, really, really appreciated that.
That's a
Good. Nice. Nice.
funny thing on design, that like, it's really strange how like a lot of people think of menus as like menus, like physical books or whatever, and you rarely see an option in more than one place, which is like
Yeah,
very
yeah.
strange. It has never really occurred to me when you're like, oh yeah, they just grouped them all there. They're in the regular
Hmm.
places, and you can find them where you
Yes.
regularly look. But there's also a place where they've just grouped them all, and of course it's like, oh yeah, that's obviously a thing you could do with code incredibly
Yeah.
easily. How come I've not? How long have video games been around? Longer than 20 years. How come this hasn't been a thing? Of like, it's such a smart, easy fix for
Absolutely. Yeah.
things like
And
accessibility. Like, oh, you have this set, that this issue which gets impacted by this set of features, we'll just put one place. But obviously, if you're used to looking those places, or you only
and to
want to
go
flip one of those
separate
things
ones.
and
Yeah.
it's not about accessibility, we're not going to park them over there, because that's what sometimes happened, I've seen in games where it's like, oh, I don't like motion blur, and sometimes it's put in accessibility instead of visual options, and they move it,
Mhm.
right? It's like, oh, well, it can only be in
Yeah.
one place. It's like, right, no, it can be in both.
Yeah. That's such a smart
That's
thing to do,
wild.
and
Sorry, I just.
observation. As much as I cuss like Call of Duty, like they have they have a they have like a quick settings menu where it's like,
Mm,
here are all the things that you may want to change. That probably
the average person.
are the most changed,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
what
Here's
you
the
might
top 10
trend
things
on
that
it.
people change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so they
First
have
on
Resolution,
the
that, which is
sticks.
good.
Number one.
VSync,
Yeah,
easy mode.
yeah.
Sorry,
Um,
controller.
Snoop Dogg skin on, um, which I've seen lately. It's like I only recognize the characters like when they're right up in my face, and like
Well,
I
yeah.
shoot them, and then the camera like
So
weirds
you can
out, and I
have
can see like
you
their
can have a
face, and it's
shootout
like Rick from The Walking Dead.
between Nicki Minaj and Snoop Dogg.
Yes.
Then Groot
What?
just comes over the hill.
Stupid.
What is? What is this
And there's like a
world?
sloth character. Yeah, it
I
gets
mean, that's pretty
stupider every
cool.
day.
Mate, I will go back to Call of Duty when they add like the Mr. Blobby skin, and I can just like
Well, yeah,
fucking
And it makes them whoop.
yeah,
So
yeah,
just
yeah.
blobbies around.
It's
I
like,
don't even have any guns. Just hits everything with his hand.
yeah. You walk
well, that's
slower.
what you
Your
find.
hitbox is huge. You're a bright
Yeah.
color.
Just fall over
Just
all the
like,
time.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what you find nowadays in all these lobbies. Like there are like at least
Lobbies.
3 people who are just at least 3 people
Sorry.
who are just got like machetes and they just run around really quickly, and it's like, why are you bringing a knife to a gunfight? And the thing is that the knife is way more OP than the guns, and they're just like super speedy because they don't have any, encumbrage or whatever. And it's just like, what is this game? Who are these losers? They're worse than the snipers. I'm just like,
Call of
Any-
Duty,
any
the game
final
where Nicki
thoughts?
Minaj and Snoop Dogg have a knife fight.
Any final thoughts on Botany Manor, Lucy?
It's great.
Yeah.
Play it if you can. Yeah, super chilled out game. Yeah, it's what I need. It's what I need.
Nice.
www.outoflives.net